Welcome to the Legal Survival Show here on KBRT 740 AM. I'm attorney and law professor James Hirsen. You know, as you tune in each week, we have a different kind of talk show here designed to let you know what's happening out there in the world and bring it to everyday life. And unlike other legal shows, we're not looking for clients. This is a listener-supported program. Check out our website at LegalSurvivalShow.com, LegalSurvivalShow.com. And this is a show where today we're going to talk about someone who truly has the name America's Sweetheart, an actress. You've heard of her, Reese Witherspoon. I mean, you've heard of Sweet Home Alabama, Legally Blonde. She's won an Oscar for Walk the Line. Well, recently she got into a little scuffle, got some tussling going on with the police, ended up in handcuffs, and ended up arrested. But it's an object lesson for all of us. And what do you do when you get stopped by the police? That'll be a segment in today's show. So definitely you want to stay tuned to the Legal Survival Show today. And if you have comments or questions, you can call our special message line, which is toll-free. It's 888-260-4460. Take this down. Toll-free, 888-260-4460. And as you know, this show is not meant to set up some kind of attorney-client relationship. It just gives general information, the kind of information that gives you a general understanding of the law, not specific legal advice. As a matter of fact, no radio show is a substitute for the kind of legal advice you would get from a lawyer in your area. So we will go on here on the show, but we need you to stay tuned to this important message. We'll be right back.
James Hirsen will be right back with more of the Legal Survival Show.
This is a listener-supported show, and you can help keep it on the air. Keep the Legal Survival Show on the air. It's a public service of the nonprofit Justice and Freedom Fund because we want you to have access to the best resources, the best information. It's necessary for you to have that in order to make informed decisions for yourselves, your family, and help us support this, because we want you to be able to protect your faith, your family, your finances, your property, your privacy, and your freedom. Visit the website at LegalSurvivalShow.com. You click on the tab at the top of the page that says Donate. You can make a one-time donation or become a regular supporter. Any help that you can provide is greatly appreciated. And check it often because we have special free gifts, free information on the site. Help us continue to bring this show into your homes and workplaces by visiting LegalSurvivalShow.com. Or you can call toll-free at 888-260-4460. That's 888-260-4460.
My bills are all due, and the baby needs shoes, and I'm busted.
Welcome back to the Legal Survival Show. This is James Hirsen, and as I promised, we have an amazing segment here that's coming up, because from time to time, what we want to do is bring to you the special aspects of things that are going on in the world.
What's happening out there?
So do you know who Reese Witherspoon is? There's a cop that had an experience with her in Atlanta, Georgia, and he was asked that question. And how did we get there? Her name, of course, is Laura Jean Reese Witherspoon. She is a very successful actress. You've probably heard of her from films that she's been in, such as Legally Blonde and Legally Blonde 2. I think there's only 2 of them. And Sweet Home Alabama. And, of course, she played June Carter Cash in Walk the Line, won an Oscar for it. But This Oscar-winning actress apparently became a little unglued after her husband, who happens to be a talent agent in Hollywood, his name is Jim Toth, was arrested for DUI, driving under the influence in Atlanta, Georgia. He was observed driving a Ford Focus in the wrong lane. Toth was pulled over by the police, and Witherspoon was apparently frustrated with the situation, and she began to, well, I guess the only way to describe it is she was mouthing off to the police. She ended up being arrested. The couple actually went into jail before being released on bond. And this happened early in the morning on a Saturday morning. And as her husband, Mr. Toth, took a sobriety test, Reese Witherspoon was still left in the vehicle. And she started, according to the police, to get a little testy. There was a police report that said that Toth was arrested after blowing a .139 on a breathalyzer test. Well, here in California, that clearly would get someone arrested. And Witherspoon got out of the car and started speaking about she's a U.S. citizen, she's standing on American ground, things like that. I mean, this was a big story. It was covered by all the networks, but one in particular, ABC News, issued a report that we're going to listen to part of right now.
Laura Jean Reese Witherspoon might be the last Hollywood star fans would expect to see on a mugshot. But on Friday morning, the actress better known as Reese Witherspoon was arrested for disorderly conduct.
Disorderly conduct. And essentially, it was a situation where she didn't obey the police. And it brings up a very important point that we're going to discuss in the next segment. We're going to give you pointers here on the Legal Survival Show on what you should do if you're ever stopped by police. And maybe what we're going to find out here is what you shouldn't do when you're stopped by police. Now, it was routine. It's not unusual for police to stop people and check whether they've been drinking if they're driving in the wrong lane. But, let's listen to more of the report, get into a little more detail.
The 37-year-old actress in Atlanta filming the movie The Good Lie was traveling with her husband, James Toth, when just after midnight, police noticed her car wasn't staying in its lane and pulled over her husband, who was driving. According to the police report, Toth had a strong odor of an alcoholic beverage coming from his breath, said he had a drink, and agreed to perform a field sobriety test.
But during that field sobriety test that was given to the actress's husband, Toth, Reese Witherspoon got out of the car and did so over and over again. The police had instructed her to remain in her vehicle, and she kept getting out of it. And as her husband was being arrested, she got out of the car again. She told this trooper that she was a U.S. citizen, that she was allowed to stand on American ground. Now, what led the officer to arrest her was even more interesting.
Witherspoon allegedly began to exit the car several times, the officer reportedly urging her to stay inside the vehicle, warning that he would arrest her the next time she got out. At one point, the A-lister even allegedly hung from the car window, telling the officer that she did not believe that he was a real police officer. Then, as Toth was being arrested for driving under the influence and failing to maintain the lane, Witherspoon allegedly exited the car again, and while being placed under arrest for disorderly conduct, asked the officer, "Do you know my name? You're about to find out who I am," adding, "You're going to be on national news."
Now, obviously, these are all things that it's not good to do if you are a person who's stopped by the police. disobeying the officer when he tells you to stay in the car, hanging out of the car, saying, I'm a U.S. citizen, I'm going to stand my ground, questioning whether the officer is a legitimate officer if he's wearing a uniform, and, of course, add to it this statement, do you know who I am? And you're going to find out because you're going to be on national news, which is kind of a statement of entitlement, a statement of celebrity abuse almost. I'm going to get to that. But here's what happened. The couple, as I told you, went into the jail cells. They were released on bond, and they had to go to court early in the morning, although their lawyer appeared for them because they were charged with misdemeanors. And, you know, some reports actually said that Reese Witherspoon, who has not had these kind of problems, actually resisted arrest. Now, Witherspoon and her husband were in Atlanta, Georgia, shooting a film called, the title is The Good Lie. And after she got released from jail, she flew to New York because she has a film coming out called Mud. And I'm sure she was concerned that her name might be the title of her film. Now, the news of this was shocking to her fans because Reese Witherspoon has always maintained a very good image, a squeaky clean reputation. As a matter of fact, a Los Angeles Times profile of Reese Witherspoon said, quote, as far as tightly wound actresses go, Reese Witherspoon tops the list. She insists upon a strict sense of order in her life. So this is very different than a strict sense of order. But you'll probably say, well, she's in handcuffs. She's, arrested, had to post bail after playing this sort of celebrity game because it reeks of entitlement. It's condescending. It's arrogant. And she, by the way, has enrolled in a pretrial intervention program and has a court appearance later in the month of May. But, she legally probably isn't going to have to do very much. It's a typical kind of celebrity case. And on HLN, Mark Garagos, the famous celebrity attorney, said as much.
She's fallen victim to what we like to say in the business is called contempt of cop. And if you fail the attitude test, she gets arrested. This pretrial, it's basically a pretrial diversion. You just be a good girl and go on your way, and then the case gets dismissed. I suppose it's as best as could be expected.
And that's kind of what happens to celebrities. I mean, usually it's a slap on the wrist and probation. She doesn't have any kind of prior problems, but I'm sure she was shocked when she found herself in handcuffs. And as I said, for her to say to the cop, "Do you know my name?" There's something about celebrity. You know, the rules apply differently to those who are famous. Obviously, if we go in a restaurant, the better seats are given to those who are famous. People will be more attentive in shops. The famous don't tend to wait in lines. And sometimes there's a thing called celebrity justice. But celebrities can accept the perks of fame, but they cannot ostentatiously demand them, like Reese Witherspoon did. But there's another thing that she did. It showed us something very interesting. Typically, when people who are famous do something wrong, they issue an apology. And the apology is a non-apologetic apology. You know, they'll say, mistakes were made. Or, I'm really sorry if anyone was offended by the situation I found myself in. You know, it's this kind of apology where you don't really mean it. But in Reese Witherspoon's case, we got to give her credit because she released a statement apologizing for her behavior that was pretty amazing.
Overnight, the megastar tells ABC News, out of respect for the ongoing legal situation, I cannot comment on everything that is being reported right now. But I do want to say, I clearly had one drink too many, and I am deeply embarrassed about the things I said. It was definitely a scary situation, and I was frightened for my husband, but that is no excuse. I was disrespectful to the officer who was just doing his job. The words I used that night definitely do not reflect who I am. I have nothing but respect for the police, and I am very sorry for my behavior.
Now, that's what we call contrition. To say I'm very sorry for my behavior is explicit. And because of that, even the entertainment experts say it's not really going to hurt America's actress sweetheart's career.
Hearing what she said may distress some of her fans a little bit, but I do think that they will love and support her as she goes forward.
Well, I hope they do. I hope they do love and support her, but I want to love and support you, the listeners, because in our next segment, we're going to learn from Reese Witherspoon what not to do, but also what to do if you get pulled over by the police in a routine traffic stop, and why that's really important, how you conduct yourself. This is James Hirsen with the Legal Survival Show. By the way, our comment line is toll-free, 888, toll-free, 888-260-4460. That's 888-260-4460. You can leave a message on that line if you want to support the show or you have questions or comments, and also visit our website, LegalSurvivalShow.com. We'll be back in just a moment.
Don't forget to visit LegalSurvival.org. James Hirsen will be back in a moment. Stay tuned.
Here at the Legal Survival Show, we love our listeners. We hope you love us too. This radio program is a public service of a nonprofit organization. So go to the website at LegalSurvivalShow.com. That's LegalSurvivalShow.com. Click the tab on the top of the page. It says the word donate. That way you can make a one-time donation or become a regular supporter. Any help you can provide is greatly appreciated. Or you can call toll-free at 888-260-4460. That's 888-260-4460. Welcome back to the Legal Survival Show, and as you know, you might have a comment or question that arises in your head, or you may just want to call in and say, what a great show. I'd like to support you financially. You can call toll-free 888-260-4460. That's 888-260-4460. And from time to time on the Legal Survival Show, which, by the way, our website is LegalSurvivalShow.com, we bring you some very practical advice, which we're going to do right now.
The legal issue of the week.
So we're learning about Reese Witherspoon and this horrible situation where this actress who was considered America's sweetheart, who grew up in Louisiana, ended up in handcuffs. Just to review, the ABC News report told us this.
Laura Jean Reese Witherspoon might be the last Hollywood star fans would expect to see on a mugshot. But on Friday morning, the actress better known as Reese Witherspoon was arrested for disorderly conduct.
So here's the catchword. If you are pulled over by the police, if you are pulled over, it's a scriptural piece of wisdom that we find in the Bible. We're told to be as cunning as serpents and as gentle as doves. That sums up the way we should act in the presence of government agents, the police, when they have a routine stop. By the way, you know this, I'm sure, but I just want to mention it in a question and answer format. Question: do people who haven't done anything wrong ever get stopped by the police? Answer: yes. Question: do people who haven't done anything wrong ever get arrested by the police? Answer: yes. That's why we have a Constitution. That's why we have a presumption of innocence. That's why we have our justice system. so that when people are innocent, that they have the right to defend themselves. And so when you are pulled over by the police, you have to realize that could be the beginning of a criminal case. And how you act may end up deciding whether or not you are able to properly defend yourself. So the first thing that happens is you're going to see or hear the presence of a police car. You either hear a siren, sometimes there's a PA system in the car that'll tell you to pull over. And of course, what you do is pull over to the right as quickly as you can, safely. And what you do is to pull over calmly. You use your turn signal, indicate any lane changes, slow down safely, and pull over as far as possible to the right so that when the officer comes to your window, they won't have to worry about being hit by vehicles. In other words, you want to make the job easy for the police. And by stopping as soon as you can, you'll have a better chance of figuring out where the officer claims you have violated the law so that you can go back there later on if it's necessary, and maybe even search for witnesses and that sort of thing. Now you stop, right? So now you've pulled over to a safe spot. And remember, gentle as a dove, cunning as a serpent. Now that means the gentle part means you're courteous to the police. Courteous in understanding how tough their job is, right? Police officers are in harm's way. They get killed every day across this country. And they get killed in ordinary traffic stop situations. If you keep that in mind, you might want to make it clear to the officer as soon as possible that you are not someone that's dangerous in any way. Turn off the car. Let the police see your hands. The nice thing to do is put both of your hands on the steering wheel so you can see both of your hands. If it's dark, turn on the light inside. See, all of these things are to attempt to make the police officer comfortable. You should not start searching for anything until you are asked for them. It's not a good idea to lean over and open up the glove compartment because that looks like you might be reaching for something else. You may think you're going for your registration, but the police may think you're reaching for a weapon. Now, if somebody stops you and they're not wearing a uniform, it's perfectly reasonable to ask to see their ID. And if you have doubts, you can even go further and ask that the officer call someone else to the scene or something like that. And if it's really confusing, you could even ask to follow them to the police station. Now, that's only if you're suspicious that some kind of scam's being pulled, and they do sometimes. The other thing that people are concerned about is when an officer searches the vehicles. And most officers are not going to do that. The only time they're going to do that is when they have what the law calls probable cause. If you look like you were trying to hide something when they were walking up or throw something out the window, then they're going to search your car. If you just sit still, then everything will be fine. You know, they look for the sign of, hey, one of this person's shoulders went down. That may mean they're reaching under their seat. So if you think about it through the eyes of the police, you can act just right. If the officer thinks that you have a weapon, they can pat you down. You've seen this on TV, and some of you have been patted down. And they can search your car. If they see something when they look in the window that looks illegal, they can grab it. In other words, if you're in states that don't allow you to have open bottles of alcohol and they see that, then they'll grab it. So, and obviously, listeners to KBRT, I don't worry about them having illegal things in plain view. Now, some people ask, well, the police stopped me. Should I stay in the car or should I get out of the car? Reese Witherspoon did exactly the wrong thing because the police told her to stay in the car and she didn't. So you should get out if they ask you. Otherwise, you shouldn't. You should stay in the car. Some police like you to get out. It makes it easier for them to confront you, and especially if they're going to give you a field sobriety test, they're going to ask you to get out. But most police officers prefer that you stay there until they ask you, and just be cooperative. One of the key things is to make it easy. Now, lots of people make the mistake after they're stopped of trying to strike up this long conversation with the police and just talking too much. And this is where that maxim comes in very strongly about being cunning like a serpent and gentle like a dove. Courtesy, gentle like a dove, let the officer speak first. And officers will often ask these open-ended questions, something like, you have any idea why I stopped you? And they know exactly why they stopped you. But they're trying to get you to make an admission. They're trying to write down that admission on their police report and kind of wrap up the case. And a lot of times people make the mistake. What they'll do is they'll say, and they meant to say, well, you probably stopped me because you thought I went through that red light. And they'll say, oh, you stopped me because I went through that red light. So the thing to do, do you have any idea why I stopped you? You say, no, I don't. And you're very polite. And you basically let the police lead you, but answer not in specifics and are very polite. And that will make you cunning and gentle at the same time. Now, this is James Hirsen for the Legal Survival Show. We'll be back in just a moment, but I just want to give out the comment line. Toll-free 888-260-4460. That's toll-free 888-260-4460. LegalSurvivalShow.com. LegalSurvivalShow.com. We'll be right back after this.
It's the Legal Survival Show with James Hirsen.
Give us a hand. Continue bringing the Legal Survival Show into your home and workplaces by visiting LegalSurvivalShow.com, LegalSurvivalShow.com. You can call us toll-free at 888-260-4460, 888-260-4460. This is James Hirsen. I want to thank all of you who have tuned into the Legal Survival Show this week and every week. And I'd like you to urge you just to check out our website, LegalSurvivalShow.com. There's lots of useful information, lots of free reports, lots of things that will help you. And, of course, you can support the show. And also call our comment line 1-888-260-4460. Be sure and tune in at the same time each week where we will give you justice with a capital J.